Aloha, I'm Kala'i Miller, and for this episode of Home is Here, we're in Kalihi. While many of us may think of this as being a more urbanized and industrialized part of town, back here in the valley, we're surrounded by green. And helping keep it that way is Kōkua Kalihi Valley. It's a nonprofit looking to change lives in the community by helping people connect to their roots in more ways than one.
Ho'olu'aina means to grow the land. Ho'olu has that sense of like to inspire. And I think that that's really what this place does for a lot of people is a place of inspiration. All of us come from people who know how to farm. You know, maybe it's not our parents, maybe it's not our grandparents, but eventually you go back far enough, you come from a farmer eventually, somebody who knew how to take care of the land, who knew how to feed themselves. So the farm part of this project was started in 2005, and it was actually a pretty powerful story for us because down at the clinic, the doctors were running for a long time a diabetes group. I remember the doctors always talking about how these aunties would come in and they look kind of old and feeble inside of the health clinic, and you know they'd talk to them, be like, "Auntie, you gotta exercise, you gotta get healthy, you gotta eat well," and oftentimes they're communicating through a translator. And so the translator, after about a year, told our doctors, "Oh, you know, there's no word in Chuukese or in any of these languages for the word exercise." And the doctors are kind of like, "What do you mean there's no word for exercise? Like, what do you guys do to like move your bodies and that kind?" They're like, "Oh, we farm, we fish." That was a spark for a lot of our doctors. They're like, "Oh, we got to just get our patients out onto the land over here." And that was really, this area was just bush, jungle, could barely even walk through it. It was all these aunties cleared it by hand, and they looked like they're having fun, sweating while they're doing it, getting a good workout, and then they were planting behind it, and that was kind of the first starting.
We strive to reduce as much waste as we can. Composting is a big aspect of how we ho'olu'aina, how we grow our land here and how we grow our food here. As well as, we don't have too many big machines, and so the biggest catalyst for growth of this place is the hands of our volunteers. We start off with our harvest day on every Monday. Our harvest days are called ipuolono, where our community volunteers come up and they help not only with the harvesting, but they help with the planting and the popping and the composting and the whole food process. Our food is harvested by our community, washed by our community, bagged by some of our volunteers, and at the end of the day, at the end of the morning, we drive it down to the clinic where our food hub is at.
So Roots was a program that came into existence in 2011. There were just three of us, Jesse, myself, and Adam, the farmer. And we were really looking at the community, the resilience, the culture, and how does food fit into that? And so how do we use food to bring our community together? How do we use food to help them feel healthier? You know, we have such a rich culture that how do we use our food and not just to connect to their culture, but connect all of our cultures together? We have our cafe that's open a couple times a week, and we serve really healthy food that tastes so good and is based on what is available that day. And so, you know, for example, today we have a hamburger with kualoa beef, but we have ulu fries with it, and we also have a sandwich with avocado and eggplant, and we have a cake that has calamansi lime. So we're trying to use whatever is available.
So we have kind of two ways we source food. We grow some food at Ho'olu'aina on a couple acres up there, and that comes down here, and that gives us a little bit of a base to work with. And then we have our cultural food hub, which is bringing in food from small farmers primarily all over the island. That's mostly all organic food. So I spend a lot of my time in the cafe and the kitchen, cooking, planning menus, but also making space for staff and community members to be part of that. So a lot of what we try to do is chefs here is not just make a whole menu and run the whole kitchen, but create an environment where other people can bring their gifts and their recipes and whatnot to the community. So I might cook one or two of the dishes, but I'm also supporting other staff to take the lead to maybe cook something that's their favorite thing to cook or something from their culture, to bring youth into the kitchen when we have our youth programs and teach them some things about cooking, but also give them a chance to, take leadership to feed their community somewhat too. I'd say 75% of what I do well is because other people did it well and they probably learned from their grandma or their mom or somebody like that, and we're just cooking together, sharing recipes and techniques and learning from each other. We had a lot of conversations with people in the community, especially some of the elders, and one of the things we gleaned from that was the importance of cultural food access. So, poi, kalo, ulu, breadfruit, cassava, different types of bananas, eggplants, things that people really want to access, but a lot of them have not been around as much more, although we're starting to see the tide turn on that a little bit. So we're trying to bring those foods in and have fun cooking with them too. So we might prepare some things, as people have always eaten them and it's very familiar, but then we might take kalo or breadfruit and do something, totally different with it and present it in that way.
Our food hub is a place that we aggregate produce from local organic farmers across Oahu. Currently working with about 35 and about 20 on a weekly basis. Ideally, our goal is to support small local organic farmers, people that do it for a living, do it to support the local economy and just doing what they love. But that is really hard to come by still. On the next level is just creating relationships with people that have access to food. So that might look like nonprofit organizations. And then on a bigger scale, the more for-profit people that also kind of have their own little food hub where they are supporting other farmers as well. A lot of our food is imported, and that's a little bit sad to think like that, that everything is brought here, and to think about how long that process might take compared to knowing, like for myself, the process in which I order food, they harvest the food, we receive the food, and then we're making food. So even though we still have the option to shop in these bigger stores, how do we continue to make our local farmers our first option, right?
So as a community food systems planner, I help to facilitate conversations and connections throughout our island-wide food system, but also helping to provide resources and ability for farmers to grow their businesses, and also connections to our community through the ways that we're able to help them access their cultural foods. I think it's hard enough to survive in Hawaii, but I feel because we are able to connect community not only to food, but to each other and to spiritual connection to that food, that it really brings forth a long-lasting life force. Some of the things that we lack within a localized food system right now is, of course, hands, but it's people that are willing to teach the younger generation about the importance of local food and the importance of keeping our food here and sustaining our islands through our own supply chain, because we can do it. It's just we need more people to help with that mission.
So the hope for this program really is that we continue to be a source of really good food, good nutrition, but really just encouraging people to learn more about foods, to use foods to teach people what to do with foods, instead of being a program that says, oh, you shouldn't eat this and shouldn't eat that. We want to celebrate our foods and teach them how to choose healthy, how to make healthy choices. But what we're really looking at is our food system of Kalihi. We want to make a difference in the food system of Kalihi. And so, in our culture, and ahupua'a was really our land division, and we believe that if everybody took care of their land division and what was inside of it and how the food was produced, then we would be healthier as a whole community. And so we're really looking in Kalihi to say, how do we improve the food system over here? How do we support one another? Our desire is that for the ahupua'a of Kalihi, that we are creating a healthy food system within it.